Good morning, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. And here it is, episode 4, the long-awaited episode 4 of the Community Service Project. We did 1 and 2 back in the spring, the winter and the spring, and then we did number 3 was live on Hobbypalooza, and that was in July. So these guys, I'm pretty sure these guys have been avoiding me. I don't have evidence of that, but it just feels like it. So I finally corralled them all into one stream, and here we are. I'm going to talk about some hobby issues, have some fun, hopefully have some laughs. And at the end of it, hopefully we will still be friends, but we'll see. Let me bring everybody out. Good morning, gentlemen, my esteemed hobby friends, and also Mike.
Hi, Dan.
How is everybody on this early morning in California, but mid-morning to late morning in the East Coast?
I mean, I'm doing fantastic. We got home late last night. Lucy had a soccer game, and she scored in their first playoff game, and they won. What was it? 5-0, 5 or 6-0. And
wow,
she had one of the goals. So that was a fun night last night, and it was Molly's birthday last night, and it's my anniversary today. Happy anniversary, honey!
Happy anniversary!
Wait, you got married
with us?
Your daughter was born a day before your anniversary? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we were in the hospital with the birth of our first child on our 2-year wedding anniversary. Yeah, it was very cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
We celebrated my wife's 35th anniversary, the 35th birthday, the day our triplets came home from the hospital.
Oh, wow.
That was a big deal. So anyway, long time ago. They're all grown up and everything. So this is like the 90s. Mike, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. It's almost 60 degrees. I've been working outside up until we started recording, and it's beautiful here in Maine.
And Jake, do you have like post Shriners like depression going on? Is that something that you kind of feeling at this point?
Not at the moment, but definitely shortly thereafter. But it was a wonderful time. I know we're going to talk about it later, but yeah. And now it's kind of like what's next, and I think that's kind of probably part of what we're going to talk about as well.
Well, I should say that what is next, and I know that I think I'm the only one going to this, is the Philly show on December 13th, Saturday. There's another get together, and I've been hearing from different people that are going to go that didn't go to the first one. I've been getting a lot of texts this week, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. But the Philly show on the 13th is actually my next event. And, there's other stuff I could be going to. There's a Hofstra show on Thanksgiving weekend, and there's a Plainview show, I think, tomorrow. So there's stuff I could be going to, but I'm going to hold off until the Philly show. So Community Service Project, we talk about important hobby issues, try to have some fun, try to also make sure that we say something important, but also say something that's funny. So anyway, our first issue is important one, a very important one. And it's, why does Mike hate card shows?
Well, we could ask Mike.
Why does Mike hate card shows?
We're going to start with Mike. Mike, why do you hate card shows?
I love card shows. I think card shows are fantastic. The Shriners was another amazing event. Yeah, that's it. Moving on to number 2. So the whole reason that Dan's doing this, of course, is because I did a video where I said, have I gotten too picky for card shows? And first of all, the most important thing about a card show for me is visiting with friends, which is kind of what I was getting at there. But I don't go to the Portland card show anymore because I don't see very many friends there. And usually, if I'm going to go, I'm meeting up with other outside hobby friends for breakfast or something, or lunch. But the Shriners is a great show. My collection has just become so refined that if I'm looking for vintage, I'm too picky. What's with the air quotes?
Refined.
Okay.
All right. We broke your train of thought. I want to hear the rest of this.
If I'm looking for vintage, I'm too picky about the condition of it, and then they always have them priced way too high at shows. If I'm looking for modern stuff, which I have a video coming out today, Saturday, about Red Sox refractors I'm collecting, you're not going to really find those at a show because I'm looking for 1990s and early 2000s Red Sox refractors, and those just aren't going to sell at a card show very well.
Yeah. Jake, what do you think? Is Mike hate card show?
As far as I think I'm on board with Mike's concept, like at this point in my collecting, because I think that it's not, I wouldn't say that it's because my collection has gotten so like narrow, but it's just more that I go more for the experience of spending time with people. And I think like when I did first start going back to card shows, it was this thing of like, I have a list and I want to try to knock the things off my list. And if I don't do that, then I've failed. And I know that a lot of people, collecting is probably not this like necessarily communal experience with other people. But I think like that's what's happened to me is that I go to the show and there's dealers or other people that I know that are going to be at the show that I will say hello to and spend time with and hang out with. And especially the bigger shows, the bigger shows are the best of all worlds because like big regional show like Shriners or the National or what sort of I'm expecting Strongsville to be next year is like both things where you get to hang out with people and there's the opportunity to get cards that I can't get at like the local show where it's the same dealers all the time and they have the same things in their showcases and things maybe tend to be a little bit overpriced. So I identify with what Mike is saying completely. I would the actual like getting cards for my collection is I know going to a card show it's going to be hit or miss unless it's one of the really big shows, and even then the social aspect is kind of the best part of it.
Greg, why does Mike hate card shows?
I'm trying to figure out a lot of what Mike thinks and why. I'm not really making much ground on that. But I will say this about card shows. Card shows, to me, are an opportunity for a treasure hunt. And so even the local card show, when I walk into the local card show, the first thing I do is I scan around and I look for somebody I've never seen before because it might be a new dealer and they might have something that I wasn't expecting. Now, some of the shows in California, that are an hour and a half away that I used to go to have gotten so crowded. There's gotten to be so many TCG cards that I'm like, I don't want to pay $10. I don't want to drive 90 minutes each direction to be packed in like sardines and have all these TCG cards there. So some of those I'm not going to. But a lot of the local shows that are within 30 or 40 minutes, I'll go to, and it literally is a treasure hunt to me. And that's the fun part that gets my juices flowing is you just never know what you're going to find. I live along the Cosumnes River. Okay. So the Cosumnes River is one of the, it's a smaller river that feeds off of the Sacramento River that is up just off the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas, which is where gold was discovered in California. The gold rush, California, it was like that area is 60 minutes from me.
Back when Dan was a kid.
Right. Dan was there. Dan, you could tell us about what it was like in a minute. But this Cosumnes River has gold in it. And so I have a little sluice. I have a little pan. I'll go down there from time to time and I'll start, doing my thing and trying to find some gold. And when you're panning and you're working, and then at the bottom, there's a little chunk in there. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty darn cool. And that's what it's like. Every time I go to a show, it's like I'm panning. I'm looking to see if there's anything hidden in that black sand at the bottom. And it's fun. And so I understand that I'm probably 99 times out of 100 not going to get anything for my long-term permanent collection. But I like treasure hunting. I went estate sailing yesterday. I went to 2 estate sales yesterday because I just love the hunt. And so I don't think Mike hates card shows. I think that Mike understands that what he's looking for now is not likely to show up at a local card show, and he's not going to see a bunch of his buddies. So the two main reasons why he would attend aren't there, and I get that. So I don't blame him at all. But I don't think he hates card shows. But I think we all love the treasure hunt. And I see every garage sale or estate sale or small card show as the opportunity for a treasure hunt. And as a pirate like myself, I love treasure hunting.
Thank you, Greg. So yes, and I've talked about this before pretty recently. My favorite part of the National was looking for that 1961 Fleer wrapper with Greg. We spent probably an hour, right, looking for it. That was a blast. That was so much fun.
What was fun about it is we were using clues from the picture.
Yes.
And what was the sequence of the pictures before it and after it to try to narrow down, and what was the case like? And it was literally that treasure hunt was a blast.
Yeah.
Wish you guys were there.
So in New York City, we have people who do stuff like Greg with the sluice in the river, and it's usually guys looking for cans to get the 5-cent deposit, and they have these giant bags filled.
We could get into the Seinfeld episode where Kramer
10 cents,
and Newman,
Michigan.
They wanted to load them up in the mail truck and drive, and Kramer was dumping sodas out into the sink so he could get the 10 cents instead of the 5.
And then I thought Newman's drinking them, and then doesn't Kramer hit him in the stomach and he spits it all out?
Yeah. I thought you were going to talk about the episode when Kramer was he fell into a deep sleep, and his girlfriend had mafia ties, and they threw his body over the bridge into the water. I thought that's where you're going with that, but
no. So just let me finish the card show thing. First of all, yes, going to card shows to meet friends. Number one, we did that at Shriners. Fantastic. We'll talk about that later. And get cards too. And at Shriners, there are dealers who you could find stuff that you're not necessarily looking for. For me, it's pre-war, low pop stuff. There's always Stan with his fantastic collection, but there's guys like Ed Hands and Paul Borges and Brian Deck and people like that. I can always find something. And if you go through the guys that I bought from, they're all guys that I know. So I knew where to find the stuff that I wanted to find. But what's great about Shriners is you also get that back wall with a bunch of old guys who never go to shows and only set up once a year. And to me, that indicated that there's stuff here that I'm not necessarily going to find stuff that I expect, but it's going to be gold. So, I don't know. I don't know that Mike, I mean, the joke is that Mike doesn't hate card shows, but you get to a point, I think, and it's a good point in your collection journey where local card shows don't do it anymore. And even sometimes, the bigger card shows, finding that little piece of gold is pretty hard to do. And if you don't have enough time, then you end up with a half an hour to try to buy cards, right, Mike?
Yeah, I just want to throw in there that for me, local card shows here are the ones that happen on the weekend basis. There's one that happens that's not too far from my house, maybe 20-25 minute drive. And the thing about that show is that other than my hit list co-host Matt from Providence, it's all modern and TCG. He's the only he's the only vintage dealer at those shows. A couple other guys have a smattering in their tables, but the thing is that I like to go to that show because Matt lets me behind his table and I just sit there and BS with him for a few hours. So it's fun for that reason.
Good point.
To have a good friend who's a dealer who lets me behind his table so I can sit.
But there's that the sitting thing, but also there's information at these shows that you can find out, who's got what. I mean, there's gossip, there's internal, and I set up as a vintage dealer at local card shows, and here I am, saying you shouldn't go to them. I don't say that, but occasionally I do buy a card because if you're there the entire day, eventually you find out that someone has something you might want. But that's a little bit of a different story. So we can move on to
it's funny, by the way. It's funny that we latched on to what I said about card shows.
Oh, gold. Greg's gold.
Nice.
Oh,
beautiful.
Gold.
It's funny that we latched onto what I said about card shows, but not about what Greg said about O.J. Simpson.
I mean, that tells you everything you need to know, guys.
I think it was the Northern California bias. That's what it was. O.J. Simpson thing.
You guys didn't recognize me on the overpass with the sign, did you, in the video?
Well, Craig, we also, we spent a lot of time together, and I'm now remembering that we talked about the Scott Peterson case also.
Yeah.
And Greg wasn't so sure that Scott Peterson was guilty either.
No, that's not true.
What?
Okay.
The
All right.
story on that, I think I'm certain he is. I work with Lacey Peterson's sister-in-law. So
Wow.
that was, and I've worked with her for 20 years. The story was about 30 years ago. So I didn't work with her when it was going down, but recently he's been in the news again, and I've worked with her during that time. And so, and then he also for a while was in a prison that is 10 miles from me. So that was what I said. I didn't say that about, let the record show. Scott Peterson, you're out.
All right. So, all right, let's get into seriousness a bit. So the last week has been a bit of a whirlwind for me personally on the internet and on YouTube and with text messages and all kinds of stuff having to do with the Patrick Ryan, Dr. Beckett thing. And I don't want to get into it again. I spent an hour and a half on Carlos's channel going through it bit by bit.
I'm not familiar.
But
what happened?
There's so many videos about it. Even Mike got on the back of the bandwagon and put something up yesterday. So, I should say though, however, that last night on a live stream, Chris Hoge and his partners, Josh, I believe, and Christina did have a lengthy discussion about it. And it's a good one. And I would go back and rewatch it if I were you guys.
I've got to save it for later. Yeah.
I have watched the first half of it, and it's really good.
Yeah. That being said, my thought was coming out of this, like, big picture, that we've only scratched the surface with this of what is really going on, and that shill bidding is in fact way, way worse than any of us ever realized. And I know some of us, I know it had been taking place, and I'm on the lookout for it constantly in every auction that I'm involved in. But I think it's reached a level that is a crisis. And I had a conversation yesterday with a guy that the three of us are all friends with and admire. And he told me that he's in a private group with a ton of different baseball card and sports card, collectors and dealers. And one of the people in the group was defending the Patrick Ryan thing and nearly came out and said basically that he and his friends, in fact, bid each other's cards up just so that they can not lose money. And on the Chris Hoge thing last night, Christina came up with a term which I think is really good, which was that the flipper vortex is really the problem here. Because if you're a flipper and you buy a card and you go to sell it, you can't sell it for less than you bought it for, or otherwise you ultimately will go out of business if you can't keep making money on every card. So I thought those two issues were important, that it's not just the Ryan and Beckett thing, and it's industry wide, and it's a bigger problem than any of us ever realized. And a lot of it has to do with the flipper concept, the flipper vortex that was talked about last night. So anyone, Mike, you have any thoughts on this? I'm sure you do.
I did put out a video last night with John Keating where I talked to him about the whole controversy. And I've been pretty shocked at the comments on that video, as well as on Twitter, where all these people, mostly, I believe they're mostly young people, probably part of that flipper vortex, who say, what's the big deal? Everybody does this. If you're not doing it, then you're losing.
Tell me, Mike, where could I find that video? Is there a specific YouTube channel or network where I could find that, Mike? See what I have to deal with, you guys?
Sports Card Clubhouse, podcast, and YouTube.
No, you did a great.
That Keating guy was way better than the other guy.
Hang on, Dan. Don't interrupt Greg when he's complimenting me, please.
I actually thought you guys both did a really good job.
Yeah, it was spectacular.
Um,
And I
for
just
the-
have to say something for the record about that.
How you jerk.
No, like people were kind of going after Keating. And
Yeah.
I've never met Keating. He was at Shriners last year. I didn't have a chance to say hello to him, and I kind of regret that. If you watch John Keating on videos and on interviews and stuff, that's just who he is. I didn't think he was being rude to Mike. I didn't think he was being maybe you can disagree with some of the things that he was saying, but in terms of his overall demeanor and attitude, like that was just 100% Keating. So I just wanted to say that. Like I didn't think that Keating was like that was a really good conversation. And
Yeah.
if
And
maybe
Keating-
John's not everyone's cup of tea, but like that's just who he is.
Yeah. And Keating is very dry and he's just ribbing me. And I'd like to get back to Greg's compliments now. Thanks.
no, I thought. They
Okay,
did a
so
good-
what? what were? I guess that was it.
I thought they did a great job. I thought that Keating said some really interesting things. I appreciate Keating's candor. You know, he's good buddies with Dr. Beckett, but he didn't simply let him off the hook. And I thought Dan, you and Carlos did a fantastic job of breaking it down. I think you pulling the Mastro plea deal out and comparing it to what they admitted to, I thought was brilliant. I thought that you did a really good job. I think that this deal, this issue is one of those things that's kind of not talked about. It's sort of like a backroom thing where there's sort of an old boys network of things that are happening in the hobby. And a year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, the thing that was happening a lot was we were talking about, card restoration and card doctoring and how people, manipulate cards to make them appear better and putting them through the Kurt's card care juice. And I did a video on that. And I don't think that I'm anything special. Trust me. But I did a video on that a year before that blew up. And I got so much hate in the comments towards me for saying it was wrong, for saying that there was any issue with it and how art people restore things and how, how's it different than a collectible car where they take the dents out of the car and make it look better than, and I got a lot of heat. And this is one of those things where it's not a gray area, but there's this dark thing happening in the background that, they close the doors, they go into the secret room, they do their thing, and then they come out. I mean, it's literally in the back of the bada bing, like in the Sopranos, it's crazy what sorts of things happening. And right now, the thing that came out is one of the guys in that circle. He keeps saying, this is one of the things I'm having an issue with the guy. And I haven't really spoken about this a ton personally, but the Patrick Ryan thing, the thing he has said a few times is, come on, if I really thought that it was wrong, why would I put a screenshot of myself, in front of the picture of it where it said I bid? Like, how brash would that be? How brash would that? No, I don't think you're brash, Patrick. I think you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I think you are such an idiot. And I think you got so kind of confident in what you were doing and it became normalized. You didn't feel like you had to close the door behind you anymore before you went into the dark room and did your thing. I think you got to the point where you were just like, this was a normal thing. And I guess I'm doing my rant right now. Okay. Tell me what the heck the point of Acquire is. Why would Acquire exist? I have watched The Golden Show on Netflix. I have seen him fly across the country to pick up collections that he wants. I have seen him fly to have one-on-one conversations to convince people to take their collections and submit them into their auction house. And he's saying he needs Acquire to do what? I've not heard, and I know I haven't watched everything. I only watched a limited amount of stuff. I've not heard anybody talk about why does Acquire exist?
I don't know what Acquire
they
is.
do?
Yeah, can you give us some context, Greg?
So my understanding is he submitted his cards to a company called Acquire, and I've tried to Google them. I can't find anything on them. And then what they do, what Acquire does, is they send them, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, but they send them then to the auction houses to be up for auction. So it's like a shell company where Patrick Ryan takes his stuff, he sends it to Acquire sends it to the auction houses, and then guess who's not the person that submitted the card to the auction house? So guess who's not banned from bidding on the card? I don't understand when you're a guy like Patrick Ryan and you have the amount of money that you have, and you have the collection that is, they're highly competitive to sell your stuff. I don't understand why you wouldn't just send it directly to REA or directly to Fanatics Collect. They're sitting there calling you, begging you all the time to submit your stuff. So why would you send it to a third-party company to then send to Fanatics? I don't understand why there's a need for that.
Well,
So my rant is, if everything is on the up and up, and he says everything's on the up and up, great, good for you. Why are you going through this other company? I know the response would be, well, what they do is this card sells better on this auction house, so I send this here, and then these things sell better on this auction house, so they determine what's in that auction. I don't believe that. Quite frankly, I don't believe that. I think there's one reason somebody would send to a place like Acquire, who would then send it out to the auction houses. There's one reason, because you're not the submitter anymore.
The Acquire is a company owned by one of the former PWCC shilling guys. I forget his name, Jesse Craig or something like that. So, it all goes back to this corruption goes back like 20 years or more. And
Dan, am I
apparently that guy
mistaken on what Acquire does? Is that your understanding?
No, you're absolutely correct. It's a consignment company, essentially, is what it's called. But in reality, it's a laundering. It's a way to launder your cards into auctions.
I mean, it's a consignment company who then sends it to consignment companies. Why do we need that?
They send it to auction houses.
Well, okay. They consign it to auction houses. Why do we need that? What is the point of that company, Dan? Explain to me what the point.
I think you know the answer. I think you know the answer.
No.
I'm
It's
looking.
a rhetorical question.
Trying to get into their website right now. It's acquire.co, no E in Acquire, and it's just not loading.
Shady.
Which is strange, but it also, using an intermediary like that adds to the consignor's costs, which is another thing that they have to consider. They've got the buyer's fee, or they've got the seller's fee, they've got the fee to pay Acquire, and now all of a sudden it makes it more important for them to shill bid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it loaded.
It
did load.
He's submitted directly to insurance to auction companies probably many times, because submitting to an auction company is really, really easy. I mean, even Mike could do it. So,
So then why would you suddenly, if you've been doing it, they know you have an account, you have a relationship, why would you suddenly need to stop? And I'm not, again, this might sound accusatory, but I'm asking the question. Why would anybody need to send it to Acquire? I'm looking at their website right now. They're saying, here are the things we want. Here are the things that are available. Why would anybody need to go to them to have them send it to Golden? Why? I don't understand what they're going to get a cut. Who owns Acquire? I mean, it's like that. I've not heard anybody talk about, I want a video on this is what Acquire brings to the table, because I don't understand why there's a need for them.
So if I could, because I wanted to come at this a little bit from first off, I don't know the answer to the question, Greg, is just like that. It's shady. And what we've learned is from this process, or at least what's opened my eyes in the last week, is the degree to which there is so much shadiness in this hobby that absolutely sucks. And whether it's people trimming cards or cleaning cards, or I did a video last weekend about or 2 weekends ago, I think, about the time I got scammed. Whether shill bidding, that things not really being what you think that they are. And I know it sounds idealistic, but like this is a hobby that goes back to when we were kids opening packs, right? And so it's like that's, to me, that still is kind of the pure sense of all of this. And it just sucks so much that it's there's so many people out there that just want to screw you, and they want just for their own benefit and their own gain. So my take on what's happened this week, the way that I'm going to approach things going forward, is that I still want to buy things from auction houses. I think everybody here has done a really good job of highlighting some of the auction houses that have very strong language in their terms for how they handle these types of things. The problem is it's so hard to police in a lot of ways. If somebody who has their own card is bidding on something, obviously I feel like that can be tracked. But the whole our friends, we bid on each other's cards so some idiot doesn't get a good price, that's harder to prove, I think. And so to me, I'm never gonna get into a bidding war. Like, I'm just gonna set what my price is, and if somebody beats it, then that's fine, and I'll just wait for the next card. I'm not going to, and so this happened to me semi recently on Love of the Game, which again has very strong anti-shilling language. I don't really think this is what was going on, but there was my Sadaharu O card. I kept getting outbid on it, and I really wanted it, so I kept going up. I don't think I'm going to do that again. And so that's the lesson that I take from this is buyer beware in that process, because you have no idea who you're actually bidding against. And if you get into a bidding war from my standpoint, I'm just going to walk away and wait for the next thing.
Perfect. Absolutely. So number 3, sort of related to that. Don't get into a bidding war in public. But the point is, are we giving away too much information and too many secrets about ourselves and the hobby on our channels? And the point of this is that we talk about cards that we're looking for. We talk about cards we're interested in. We're talking about changes in our approach to buying, auction houses, what's on our want list. We're talking about things on our channel, and I talk about how I got certain cards and why they're important to me, and what's the relevance of this particular player, why are they historically relevant, all that kind of stuff. And to a certain extent, we're giving away information not only about ourselves and our hobby, but also about things in our hobby pursuits, but also about things in the hobby that maybe information is power. And if we're giving out information for free, we're giving away a certain control over our own hobby. And maybe we need to be more circumspect on how we give out information on our channels. Graig, I think that you are probably the person whose life is most known from your channel. So I want to talk to you first about this and see if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely share more about myself than just about anyone. I talk about my kids. I talk about my job. I talk about where I live. It's definitely, that's just who I am. Who I am is a very, very open person. The first time Jake and I had a phone call conversation, I told him about some things that I had been through, and I just don't really do secrets. So I'm either this or I am not a channel. That's just how I have to be, because this is just the person that I am. Like, there are very few things that I just don't, I don't tell people. I just, and some people that's a turn off, and sometimes people go, oh, that sounds great. What I do all day for work is I teach kids about personal finance. And I use my kids as examples. I use myself as an example. I talk to them about when I started saving, when I bought my house, how I paid off my house, how I buy cars, how I use real life examples, because to me, real life examples allow people to see the relevance of something. And so what that, I mean, I just talked about how I live along the Cosumnes River, you know, that's not that long of a river. You could kind of come and find where I'm at based on that, you know. And is that smart? Probably not. But I also don't live in a fearful way of doing things. Now, as far as my channel is concerned, not just personal sharing, there's absolutely been times I've talked about things on the channel that has made it harder for me to curate my collection. You know, I know of multiple people who now collect Allen and Ginter pirate cards, and when I started collecting them, I didn't even know they existed, and they were 35 bucks for an average card in a 3 grade. Not anymore. Now, I'm not saying that's all because of me, but when there's nobody collecting them and then 5 people are collecting them in something where the pop on all the cards is 15, it affects the price. But the way that I do my channel and the way I look at my channel is I really feel like there are 2 main points to my channel. One, I feel like I'm a consumer advocate. So when PSA is doing something, I'm going to tell you what I think about it. If there's one company that's better than another company, in my opinion, I'm going to tell you about it. I try to help show the evolution of the slabs. I try to help show that the grading has gotten harder. I try to look and see where are there gaps in the prices that make things a better deal than another deal. I try to help the collector. So I feel like I'm a card collector, consumer advocate, and I also feel like I'm a community organizer. And I'm not claiming that I'm like Barack Obama in the early stages. I mean, I'm a community organizer. Is there's a lot of people in this collecting sphere, and we're all silos. And what I want to do is say your silo doesn't have to be a silo. Like, let's have a marketplace. Let's have a place where we gather. Let's have a water cooler. And so I try to be the water cooler, and I try to be a consumer advocate. And in doing those things, I have to have certain walls that I bring down that allow that to happen. And that's just how I'm going to be. I'm either going to do that or I'm going to take it all down and stop my channel. Those are my only 2 ways that I know how to operate, because that's just how I'm wired.
Mike, you expressed on our email chain some interest in this topic. I should say that before we go to you, that the thing that brought this about in my head is 2 things. One is a certain person we know bidding up a card on a live on YouTube in an auction that I think might have actually been part of what we just handled in the shill bid. But also, when I went to Shriners, I asked probably a half a dozen different dealers about a particular card that I hadn't seen, hadn't been auctioned in years, and nobody had it. And 2 days after I got back from Shriners, it popped up on eBay. And so, is that a good thing? Probably, because now I have access to the card, although I suspect I'm probably going to get shill bid on it because somebody knows I want it. But it's information that I gave out about something I'm looking for that I think information is power, and somebody's going to use that to make money off of me. So, Mike, why were you interested in this particular issue, in this particular question?
Well, I read it as personal, and you've since disabused me of that notion that it is. But I'm still going to go because Greg talked about personal stuff, and I am very different from Greg. I'm very guarded. I keep things private that I don't want people to know. I've curated very carefully what I want people to see and know about me, and there are myriad reasons for this. My coworkers who I've worked with for years and years and years don't know that I have a YouTube channel. It's weird, right? But I don't ever want it to become an issue where my boss says to me, maybe you would have gotten this done. I get everything done. Let's face it. Maybe you would have done better on this if you hadn't spent that time on your channel. But my kids don't want to be part of it, so I don't talk about my kids. They prefer to be kept private, so I keep them private. I am the only person in the state of Maine with my name, so I keep my last name private so people can't figure out who I am. And if I'm searching for a new job and I search for, I'm interviewing with a company, and they Google me, they don't see this because I also curate when I'm applying for jobs what I want them to see. And I wouldn't want them to see that I have a silly sports card channel. There are a number of reasons out there for me to keep myself private. And so I do that. And I totally respect Graig. In fact, I like Graig's channel better because I get to know him better. But that's just not the way I want to do things. I'll talk about ketchup storage and I'll talk about watching horror movies because those are things I feel comfortable sharing with my audience. But my family is private.
Not refrigerating ketchup. That was insane, right?
That's like we're going to go down that path. Is that what's happening?
I totally respect that, Mike. I do. And I get it. And you're probably smarter than me because of it. I just can't be that way. I respect that way. I just can't. That you guys know me. I'm constantly analogizing. Everything is an analogy. And if I'm using made up analogies versus actually experiential analogies, it's just completely different. And it's just how I communicate.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact. When I first started my channel, my first couple of years of my channel, I was always wearing a fleece from my employer. And I would record the video. And then when editing the video, I would see, oh man, I've got my employer logo there. And I cannot say anything about my employer on my video. And so I would have to edit out the bottom of the video so that you couldn't see that at the bottom of my video. And then I had to start reminding myself before every video, do I have anything on me or in the background that would give away anything? Like I have a fake PSA slab that my wife gave to me for our anniversary last month that is of her and us and has our name on it. And so if I'm ever doing a room reveal again, because it's up on my wall, I'm gonna have to take that down.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm kind of somewhere in the middle between Graig and Mike on this, and Dan, I kind of feel like we're probably similar, in terms of that. Like, I say basically my full legal name at the beginning of every video. Part of that is because that's been my Twitter handle for 15 plus years. And that's how I, have sort of been able, I that grew. And then I had, grew a following there. And then I started this channel. So it was kind of part of it was to have that kind of connection. From a personal standpoint, again, like Graig said, like, I've been open about things because it feels certain things about me because it feels tied into the hobby in a lot of ways. I've been very open about the health issues I've had dating back till a year ago, last September. And I feel like part of it is therapeutic for me. And part of it is, it ties into the hobby and it ties into the relationships I have with people. So that's
how you and I became friends.
Exactly. And maybe Graig, maybe someday we've talked about us doing a kind of a one-on-one talking about our health, our shared similar health histories. But as far as but there's things I don't like to share. Like I have some displays in the room here where I put some of my favorite cards, but I kind of don't want to have it on the channel because I kind of prefer people not to know exactly where those cards are. But again, that's not, everybody can do what they feel like. And I will, I think I've sent you guys pictures of what my wall displays look like, because I trust you guys, but there's part of me that is not really, So we have, I have we have a pretty extensive home security system here.
I have 3 outdoor cameras, 2 in here, which I'll do a video at some point on collection security and stuff like that. But
I think that's a great topic. And I think that, and I have my whole collection is insured and all that stuff. So it's like, it cuts both ways. Obviously you guys know that my channel is a collaboration with my wife, with Abby. I talk about her a lot on the channel, but she doesn't want to be on camera. And I respect that. And I think so there's a balance with the personal stuff, right? And then as far as the collecting stuff goes, I want to talk about cards and I want to talk about, and I don't expect that other people, I don't know. I don't like, it could be viewed as competitive, I guess. and the hobby can be competitive, but it's like if I mention a card and it's like a low population one and somebody else thinks, oh, I want that, that's cool. Like it doesn't bother me. Like it's just that's the way it is, because somebody else could kind of find it on their own too. And if part of my channel and what we try to do here is about spreading knowledge about players, about sets, about years, about eras in history of the sport. So I think that if I mention a card or a set and it's something that interests somebody else and they want to learn more about it and maybe they want to collect it, then I feel like I've kind of done my job of what I want to do with this channel. So it doesn't really bother me if somebody else wants it, and if it's a card that I want and somebody else gets it, all power to them. I'll either hope for the next one to come up or we'll see what happens. But
Dan, you're gonna love this. I'd send my 15-year-old a snap every day. We have a snap streak. If you're familiar, if you have a teenager, you probably know what a snap streak is. And so I just snapped a photo of the four of us here on the screen, and I got a response back saying, "I recognize the guy on the top left from the TV."
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, every time Graig is on the TV, my wife will walk in and say, "Hi, Graig," or she'll just hear your voice.
Dan, we gotta. In fairness, Dan is, once you see him, it is kind of unforgettable.
What? I don't know how to take that.
You have an unforgettable face. I don't know. That's funny.
So at the Cleveland National in 2024, some guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, Dan, I watch your channel all the time." And his wife is next to him. And she says, "Yeah, you're on our TV in the living room all the time." And I said, I want to apologize for that.
I had a guy who was at a card show with his wife tell me that he watches me all the time in bed with his wife. And I was like, do you want to rephrase that by any chance? Please.
I don't know, Mike. That's a little weird. Thanks for really taking this conversation right out.
What is I'm, by the way, I'm looking at the Acquire website now, and everything
just loading.
Everything that they say that they do, the auction houses already do. Strategic auction placement, timing and market guidance, marketing on social media and emailing and direct outreach to buyers, coordinating payments. I mean, it's everything that Golden and REA and Fanatics, they already do all of that.
Do they say in their social media thing, don't put a screenshot on your IG of you bidding on your own card? Is that part of their instructions?
No. And then the other thing about it is I'm like, this is a very basic website.
Yeah.
Very, very basic website. Like if you use, a website design program, you could throw this together in an afternoon.
The thing about it, though, is that, you got to understand that there's this undercurrent, underbelly of like guys in the hobby who keep recycling themselves through various different schemes that they have going on. And they've existed now for decades. So this guy who runs this goes all the way back to Moser, and he probably goes back even earlier than that. And these are the guys, and I said this on Carlos's video at the end, and this kind of ties into what I'm just talking about now, which is that I feel like the idiot because I wasn't cynical enough. And John Keating talked about this too. I should be more cynical. I'm old enough. I'm older than John, and I should be more cynical. I should have been more cynical, but I hope that the hobby had cleaned itself up to a certain point. But I knew that these guys existed decades ago, back in the 80s and the 90s. I knew that these were the kinds of guys that were part of the hobby, and I should have known that they were going to always be part of the hobby. And I think that this ties into what we were talking about in question number 3. And I think that when we are open about ourselves on our channels, and when we do show natural emotion, and when we do, talk to people, person to person, even though it's a video screen, I think that's the most effective kind of videos that we have. And those are the ones that get the most response from people when they can relate to us as human beings. So there is a balance that Jake was talking about between saying everything about about yourself, but also they want to see emotion. They want to see real life. And I think at the end of that Carlos video, and people have said this to me, like, you really like that was probably the most, that this had really hit home with you, and that was apparent from what you had said. So I feel like that was a good thing. Maybe telling everybody what card I'm looking for isn't a good thing, though. So that's the balance. So we have one more thing to talk about, and we have about 5 minutes to talk about it, so we can go right through it pretty quickly. Back in April, Strongsville was, in fact, we concluded that it was the greatest event in human history. I'm pretty sure on episode 2, I think it was. And now I'm moved along to whether or not Shriners was the greatest event in human history this past week. So, as the MVP of the weekend, I think, Jake, you might want to start this one out. What do you think?
I mean,
Careful.
it wasn't because because not all of my friends were there, but like that's
Love
why
you, buddy.
That's why the national. But it was certainly just for like a weekend. It was probably my favorite experience in the hobby, just over a couple of days. But like the national is more of a week. So, but it was awesome because of the fact that I got to spend time with so many friends. I didn't have to travel far; it's close to my house. And I bought a huge card and then a few other cards. So it was great. It was next to the national. So my answer to the question is no, but it was special. But I wish that more of my hobby friends could have been there.
Now, Mike, I know you hated your entire experience, so you probably answered no to this.
Actually, what I was going to say is the event that Jake and his wife Abby put on was one of the best hobby events I've been to that was outside of, a card show. They picked.
That's very nice.
Let me compliment you. They picked the ideal place. I heard Apothecary is what it was called, and ales and brews, and I don't drink at all ever, and so I was like, all right, well, I'm sure they have good food. And get in there, and Jake's got this perfect spot. I should say Jake and Abby have this perfect spot that they've reserved where we're sitting on couches and there's chairs and there's a tall table, very long, tall table right next to where we're sitting, so we can get up and eat there if we want to. I would never spill anything on myself, so I'm very confident sitting on the couch and eating my buffalo dip, which was amazing. The food was great. And then Pop-A-Shot. Pop-A-Shot, you put the Pop-A-Shot thing in anything and it's going to be amazing. And so they had an arcade. They had old school arcade games. Pop-A-Shot, Sammy Thunder was surprisingly good. I mean, he wasn't very, I don't mean to say anything negative about Sammy, but I didn't give him enough chances to get good at Pop-A-Shot, but I could tell by his basketball form, he has game. You could tell immediately. I was like, oh, Sammy was a good basketball player.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I do have to say that the selection of the place and being as good as it was kind of dumb luck. Abby and I had never been in there before. And it was Brian Kane at Yankee Kane, who's a regular commenter who was at the event, who suggested it to me. He actually lives in Wilmington. The event was in North Reading. And I didn't know. I knew that, like, they said, oh, we'll give you the lounge. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. And so that was that area. I didn't know anything about the arcade, like the Pop-A-Shot, the skee ball, the arcade games. Like, I didn't know anything about that. And I didn't really know it. So it worked out. It could not have possibly worked out, because the other option was sort of your like regular run of the mill, like bar and grill kind of place. And we were just going to kind of try to get like some bar space or whatever. So it will certainly be the place where we do this in the future again.
Yeah, and Mike Moynihan's put on some great events too, and this is obviously a much smaller event because he's had 300 some odd people, but yeah, great stuff.
I was going to pour out some beer for our friends that were missing, but then I realized I don't want to waste any beer.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'll say this. I enjoyed a lot of those videos that everyone was putting out and a lot of the pictures that people were sending. And we can't be at everything. I just saw a picture. Carl, my buddy from Australia, had lunch with Mike Petty either yesterday or the day before, and they sent me a picture. And it was like, I love that so many people are now interacting, and I don't have to be at every event for it to be a good thing for the community. And I do enjoy going to Strongsville, and I do enjoy going to the National, and I won't go to every National and every Strongsville indefinitely. I'll go to as many as I can because I really enjoy them. I hate flying, not because I'm scared of flying. It's just I can't sit still for 5 straight hours, and it's a long flight to get out there. But I think that stuff like that is awesome, and I love that more of that's happening. There's now Philly meetups, and there's the Shriners meetup, and then there's Strongsville's one giant meetup. Like I think all of it is really, really cool.
I agree, and I hope we keep doing more of it. And I hope you guys can get to Philly at some point, and we can grow this one because it's a great show and worth coming to. But we have one more thing to do, and it's called rant time. Woo! So, Greg, you already went.
Dean
So
right
I guess what was that?
That was like Howard Dean. Woo!
Am I going to get canceled for my
You
political
are.
life? No. So, rant. Greg, you already went, but I'm going to give you another one if you want. Mike, you said you had something already. You want to go first?
Oh, sure, yeah. So my last one was about ketchup storage, right? Was that it last time? This one is. Yeah. I think I'm going to stick with food. I'll probably just do something food related. There's always something rantable about food. And so I don't go into restaurants and eat unless it's just like me for lunch where it's not very expensive. But I don't take my family into restaurants anymore because I try to be conscious about the money that I spend. And food going into restaurants and eating gets to be so much more expensive than just doing takeout. So I do takeout. And let's say my wife likes salads from Panera Bread. And you order Panera Bread and you ask them for extra dressing because you want to make sure you've got enough dressing. You can never have too much dressing because then you just put it in the fridge. But Panera Bread, even with the extra dressing, they give you these little teeny plastic things that are the tiniest thing with tiny bit of dressing each. So you get 4 of those if you ask for extra. And then you have to spend 5 minutes scooping out the dressing to put them on your salad 4 times. And then it's still not enough. Why can't they put more in there? What are they hiding from us? What is happening with big salad dressing? And then, we go to like some wing restaurant and you say, I want extra ranch with my wings. And you get this tiny little thing of ranch. I want extra. Extra means more, not less. Never get enough dressing with your food. And you can't, like, when you get your takeout, you can't be like, hang on, I got to open it up and go through everything and make sure that I got enough of everything. Because then you're that pain in the butt person. You got to give more.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I was on my phone. Did Mike say something? I forget.
I mean, first world problems are real, guys, for sure. I will say this. I do agree that when you're trying to get the dressing out of those little things, as much is stuck to the walls of it as actually comes out, which is pretty annoying that there's just a huge waste thing. You need a little spatula or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Why do you give me 4 teeny little ones when you give me 1 huge one? Like, just give me a vat of salad dressing. Why 4?
Mike's a big salad dressing guy.
I have answers for you, but I'd rather talk about cards. But it's rant time. Jake, what do you got for me?
So my rant is about cards, and it is a grading company rant, but it's not about card grading. So I had my first experience recently with the PSA Vault. I sent some cards to the Vault, and my cards made it in there fine. However, when I went to go and I got an email notification about 2 cards that were put into my vault that did not belong to me. PSA made a mistake in their sort of collating of organizing things. There was one card it was like an autograph. It was in a BGS slab. It was like an autographed Yu Darvish rookie. And the other was like a 96 Upper Deck A-Rod in a PSA 10. And so not only did PSA put the wrong cards in my vault, they made me an offer on the A-Rod card, a $30 offer. Now, thankfully for the owner of these cards, I am a person of high moral character and integrity. Because what did I do? I reached out to PSA customer service and I let them know, you guys put cards that don't belong to me in my vault. And they got right on it. They said, we're very sorry. This doesn't happen often, but it happens sometimes. And they said to me in the email that they sent back, thank you for your honesty and integrity. Now imagine if I was like one of so many other people in this hobby that has no integrity and that has no scruples and is just in it to make a buck. I could have one click bought or sold a card that didn't belong to me and got an extra $30 in my pocket. But so PSA thanked me for my honesty and integrity. So, but not everybody that sends their cards to the PSA vault is going to be as lucky as they are to have somebody with honesty, integrity take in one of their cards and know to do the right thing about it. So be very, very careful when dealing with these grading companies for any purpose.
It's sad that PSA is probably thinking, wow, this guy was really like, this should be the norm. You should be the norm,
Right.
not that it's some sort of abnormal thing that someone was honest about it. So
didn't George Costanza say, you should get down on your knees and thank me for knowing me or something like
dementia.
that? Access to my dementia, yes.
I just saw it like a week ago. In fact, I saw it on the flight out to Sacramento. So there you go. Greg, it's rant time. You got any more rant in you?
Yeah, I do. You guys aren't going to like this, though, because you guys love SGC.
Oh, boy.
I have loved SGC for a long time. Okay. So we were PSA only people. We were PSA only people until like 3 or 4 years ago. And 3 or 4 years ago, we finally had it with PSA. So I first tried SGC. My dad was against it. My dad is now a full convert to SGC, doesn't like PSA. So we have issues with PSA to say the least. But they sent me back my order on October 8th. And when that order left on October 8th, they shipped them to me on October 8th. And when they showed up again for the second straight time, there was a card that had a damaged slab. There were 2 damaged slabs in there. They were literally crumbled because it was crushed. I sent them back. I immediately contacted them. I immediately sent them back. I sent them back, if I'm not mistaken. I know that I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I sent them back on October. It would have been October 17th. I mailed them back. It was Friday, October 17th. That was 22 days ago. In the SGC system, I just got an email that said they received them back. And according to my tracking information, they received the cards 2 weeks ago. So right now in the system, it says, I'm looking at it right now, it says received. And it has said received for a couple of days. They're not, the customer service is gone. The thing about SGC, I've had this happen before. It's happened before. And from the time I got the label and mailed it to the time the card was back in my hand was like less than a week. It was like, as soon as it got there, it was the first thing they did. They immediately sent it back, like priority. It's been over 3 weeks and it says received. It's not a priority to them anymore. And they've been completely boutiqued. So I'm very disappointed that I paid good money to have my cards sent there, slabbed. They sent them back, didn't protect them, and they're taking their sweet time to take care of my cards that they damaged. And I'm discouraged.
Yeah. The customer service.
I don't know if that
at
qualifies
SGC.
as a rant. It's a little too depressing.
It's just sad. Yeah, I got stuff. I think
All
on
right.
Monday coming back from SGC, and Greg's last experience has me. I'm like, my fingers are crossed. Like, don't destroy my cards, please.
Rant time.
All right,
This
Dan.
one's on me. So auction houses, what you gonna do?
Oh boy. Lawyer Dan here.
I sent I sent contacts out with links and data to 5 different auction houses this week about our recent shill bidding revelations. 2 of those auction houses I've heard from, and quite satisfactorily are going to be doing what they should be doing under the circumstances. I'm not going to name them, and I'm not going to say how I got in touch with them and who talked to me, but 2 of those auction houses are going to continue to receive my money, essentially. I'm going to continue to bid with 2 of those auction houses. 3 of those auction houses have not responded to me. 2 of them I was not really a bidder in anyway, and would probably never be a bidder because of their terms of service. And one auction house, which I had been a very consistent bidder in, has not responded to me, and they had recently upped their buyer's premium, and they changed one of their terms to include now reserves. So that auction house might be history to me, and it's a sad thing because it's a very good auction house in terms of the cards that they can get, and that's REA. I'm really disappointed in REA, not only for the changes in their terms and services, but because they didn't respond to me, and no public statement has been made by any auction house about the shill bidding revelations. And I think it's going to hurt their business. So auction houses, what are you going to do about this? Are you going to talk about it? Are you going to acknowledge that it exists? And are you going to take any action? Because shill bidding is a crisis in the hobby right now, and you are the place where the crisis takes place. So auction houses, you better get off your ass and do something. Thank you.
Yeah, so good rant, Dan. I think that this really started gaining steam on Wednesday, and then Thursday even more so. My guess is that they are all in damage control mode, where they're having board meetings and whatever else to discuss, do we need to say anything about this? And Dan's email comes in on Friday, and they're probably going, do we respond to Dan? Do we put out a statement? Do we just ignore it? And the more likely thing, which you see more and more of in corporate America now, just like you did with PSA with the backyard breaks thing, they're just going to ignore it. They're just going to
hope it goes away.
Let it go away. And we always let them get away with it. With PSA, I have not used PSA since that happened, and that was six months ago, and I will continue to. Now, I've heard that PSA only did that because they couldn't get out of their contract. I don't know if that's true, but they haven't done anything else with backyard breaks since then. So we'll see.
2 auction houses responded to me immediately. So there you go. It's
nice.
And you don't want to say which ones responded to you?
Well, you'll see from auction houses that I am continually using as, I'm a customer of. You'll see who they are. But these were private conversations, so I don't want to reveal private conversations. But that being as it may, I think we had a good community service project episode. I thank you, gentlemen, and also Mike, for coming in, taking time out. I hope people realize that I have great affection for Mike. I consider Mike a good friend, and he has a great sense of humor. And I think that he knows, and I know that our going back and forth is all in good fun. So just
absolutely. It's fun because my grandfather actually introduced me to you because you guys grew up together, and he said you were a great guy, and so I'm really glad that we got to know each other.
Yeah, it's original. The age one, that's a real original one. So I'm happy for you.
It's different every time. It's a little different.
On the next community service project, what was the Civil War like?
So the next community service, we're not going to wait from July to November. How many months is that? 4. We're not going to wait 4 months. I think what I want to do is what Mike and I did last year, which was in the beginning of January, do an episode where we talk about our predictions for the coming year. And Mike, I want to go back and watch that because I think I was wrong in pretty much every one of my predictions. But
one of the predictions was, if I remember correctly, and I've got to go back and watch, and I've been thinking about this, I predicted that some people would form a new conglomerate, a hobby conglomerate together, like a channel or a podcasting network. And I said, if I remember correctly, I said, I will not be part of it.
So that prediction was wrong.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, in
in the wrong
fairness,
column.
that wasn't our original intention.
No, we didn't.
Our
even,
intent was completely.
It didn't
We
even
should
occur
at
to me
some
until
point
August.
do a video on just how that all how. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. I guess
We talked about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, gentlemen, we're at
Thanks, guys.
1 hour and 10 minutes, so we went 10 minutes
Oh.
over. But you know, it's not Hobbypalooza, so they're not going to kick us off. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. I hope everybody gets an opportunity to watch this one because it was a lot of fun. Comment, subscribe. All of these gentlemen's channels are going to be in the links in the description, and comment on this one because we're going to have some fun, and I know our viewers are going to have some fun with it. So everybody, you will be back. I will be back next week with a show with just me and another guy, and a lovely man who has tons of great cards and a lot of good things to say about the subject we're going to cover. So we'll see you back